Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach. Ed Piscor was murdered 1 month ago today, murdered by internet bullies. As he said in his suicide note, I did a series of videos about this subject about a week after he was murdered. I want to keep this one very focused. I'd like it to be about 5 minutes long, which would be 1 minute for every false allegation that Alex de Campi and Ramon Villalobos lobbed at an already suicidal Ed Piscor. So in Ed's suicide note, he said that the day after the initial allegation, he was writing his will. So suicide was on his mind, but he didn't actually commit a suicide for several days later. My contention, my theory, is that a specific and malicious targeted group of actions by these two individuals was the deciding factor whether to kill himself or not. Effectively, it pushed him over the edge. And what happened was Alex and Ramon, who were just giddy, just besides themselves with glee at the initial allegation, instead of having empathy for the alleged victim, they were just happy that someone they kind of didn't like already was probably going to kill themselves. So what they decided is, let's make things worse. To this, they launched, in a very short amount of time, 5 additional false allegations to further drive him towards the edge. So Ramon Villalobos did 2 allegations. One to or about Ed. Another one about Ed, but directed to Jim. And that one, I think, was the most damning. Number 1 is that Ramon said that Ed was a pedophile. Molly said the exact opposite. She said, I believe it was in bold letters, Ed Piscor is not a pedophile. She said he didn't harm her, he didn't send pics, he didn't ask for pics. But in his glee, in his joy, in his fervor, while protecting women, but only listening to them when what they say goes along with his narrative, he was just calling him a pedophile, which is something that will destroy anyone's life. But what I think really pushed him over the edge is that Ramon started directing messages toward Jim Rugg, Ed's creative partner. And he said, hey, I know you're a good guy, but you haven't made a statement. So that looks like you are complicit in what Ed did. So Ramon is saying that Ed is a pedophile. And then he is directing messages, really threats, that, hey, you're next. If you don't do what I want, we know you're a teacher. We know where you work. We're going to start. And I know, I've seen this little routine they do. The next step would be he would at the school and he would say hey, as an artist, when I go to convention, young artists go to me and they ask, what school should I go to? And I always recommended your school, but I heard that one of your teachers is complicit in pedophilia. Is that true? I'm sure it isn't, but I just need to know. Can you make sure that none of them, that's the little Eddie Haskell game they would play. So Jim knows this, and he issues a statement of, he is severing his professional connection to Ed Piscor. And Ed mentioned this in his suicide note. Ramon is not a cop. He's not any kind of authority. He's not a journalist. And the idea that he would use the word complicit, which means accomplice, which means he was just putting it out there to Jim Rugg, I'm about to start saying that you are an accomplice to a pedophile. So you know what to do. And he did it. And the pressure was just coming from Ramon. That was it. So Ed was already, the initial allegation was that he was a groomer, but they never met. So then it just got kind of then 2 days later, Molly said He's not a pedophile. He's just a creep. And it's like, okay, that's pretty vague. But Ramon was like, no, pedophile and Jim Rugg, you're an accomplice. So you better do something. And that betrayal, whatever you want to call it, I believe was the crucial deciding factor. Like when Jim put up that statement, I did a screenshot of it and I put a community post. I think I said something like, it's like Robin trying to distance himself from Batman. Like, you two are connected. Like, what is the point in doing this? So I had to look up, obviously this is not going to be 5 minutes. I had to look up the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath. And I believe that Ramon is a psychopath and Alex is a sociopath. Ramon is better at kind of like pretending to have human emotions and like saying the right thing. Like he did this statement, this snarky, snide, like clearly laughing while he was doing it statement about like thoughts and prayers to the family. And I was just trying to give Ed to be the man you thought he was. It's a darn tootin' shame that this happened. And you could tell he was just fucking laughing. But to the casual observer who didn't know all the lore, all the background, it could seem sincere. Alex was, well, two things. I mean, first of all, she went before his murder, and she was named as one of his murderers in the suicide note. She went on this like weird tangent. First she started like getting bothered that some people like didn't want to execute him and wanted to like ask more questions and get context. And then so she went in this like whole like racial direction where she was like, instead of talking about this guy, why don't you concentrate on hiring African Americans? Like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? So, and then she kept like just bringing up like he was a white guy. Then, okay, so what does that have to do with any of this? And then she identified falsely an account and said, this is Ed Piscor's alt. So then she started saying, oh, this alt is saying things that are racist, is saying things that are sexist, is engaging in queer bashing. So there's 3 more allegations. Now, in the initial allegation, Molly gave like some screenshots and talked about some things that happened. Ed, in his suicide note, basically went point by point and said like, this was a reference to this was a joke, this one I see how it could look bad, but it was like, he made the point that when he was in the scene, when he was Molly's age, he would go crash at people's houses. He's like, this is just like a thing in the indie scene that happens. People crash on each other's couches. But my point is, if there's one allegation and you're innocent, you just go like, oh, I'm innocent and this is my take. And but Ramon and Alex knew that. They knew you can fight one allegation. At least to the point where most people would be like, you know, this is kind of a he said, she said, they never met up. I don't, you know, it doesn't look great, but it's not, you know, he shouldn't be murdered over this. By the way, the Europeans just don't understand this at all. They're like, well, you know, he shouldn't have killed her if, no, he didn't kill her. What, did he eat her? Like, what happened? Oh, they texted over 4 years and they never met. It's like the Europeans just don't get this at all. But Ramon and Alex, who have been involved in every single digital lynch mob for the last 10 years, they've built and perfected a weapons platform. They've tested it on people at lower wattages, and then they brought the full power of their weapon system, as Tarkin said, and they just fucking obliterated. You can fight one allegation. You can't fight 6 allegations. 1 from Molly, 2 from Ramon, 3 from Alex, And you know they're just going to keep bringing it up. He knew they would bring this up forever. Ramon and Alex saw an already suicidal Ed, and they said, fuck, he might back out of it. Let's just keep lobbing allegations. One after the other, after the other, after the other. I guess technically it was 4 that were directed at Ed. 1 was directed at Jim, but it was meant to damage Ed. I believe the one directed at Jim, calling him complicit. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a teacher. This could be a career killer if Ramon wanted to pursue this, and he would have. They saw an already suicidal Ed Piscor, and they said, you know what? He's got 1 allegation, but he could really use 5 more. He killed himself because 1 allegation already made him put him into the bubble of being suicidal. And then 2 evil motherfuckers decided, let's make things worse. And they lobbed 5 additional allegations against an already suicidal man. And then he did what suicidal people do when they're pushed to the edge. You either fall over or you jump over. You know, it's real hard to jump off a building when you're fucking 3 meters away from the edge. It's real easy when you're 3 inches. And that's what Ramon and Alex did. They said he's not close enough. He might back out. We gotta keep on the pressure. You can argue and defend yourself against 1 allegation. You can't do it against 6 different allegations. He knew he was fucked. He knew they would never relent. It's all gone because 2 psychopaths who have been using fucking social media as a torture chamber in a kangaroo court for 10 years, they finally got it up to full power. And they poured it on. Those turbo lasers, all of them were just operating at maximum output. Oh, we got 1 allegation. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another. How is he close enough? Is he over yet? Here's another one. Oh, let's go to his freaking creative partner. Let's distance him. Let's isolate him. The fuck? Anyway, I could go on with this fucking evil fucking shit forever. You know, when something happens, you know, your grandpa dies or whatever, it hurts, and then, you know, you kind of move on with life, but this is an open wound. It's not healing. It's always getting aggravated. Because the murderers they're just living their lives, and Ed isn't. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.